Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digital,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digital TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
Migrant stakeholders run bili abirimu ebiri emisinde gigenda okubeera ku ssaawa ekkololo ku Sande nga 2 October. Tudduka okusonda ssente okuddaabiriza ekifo ekibudaabuda bankuba kyeyo nga bakomyewo. Eddembe lya bannayuganda bakolebwe buvunaanyizibwa bwaffe era kitukakatako okulwanirira eddembe n'obwenkanya mu mirimu gy'abankuba kyeyo. N'olwekyo weetabe mu kuddaabiriza ekifo kino ng'ogula kiti ya $2.5 okuva ku petrol station za Shell Kabalagala, Shell Lugogo, Capital, Shell Najjanankumbi, Shell Nansana, Shell Namave ne Shell Buloba. Biwagidwa Star Times, Reham, Fresh Dairy, Roofings, Housing Finance Bank, Maritime Cargo. Olwo ne bikutusibako ofisi ya President ku nsonga z'emitala w'amayanja, UERA ne Migrant Workers Voice. Ne bitegekebwa Sinat Advertising.
The Alternative Digital. Real issues, real talk.
Lilian eranga mbabuuzaako ena gye musinzidde okubanga mutulaba abatulabira mu ggwanga awamu n'ebitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo kye mukola ky'amaanyi omulimu gw'omukola gw'amaanyi ate era gwa ttendo. Lunaku Lwakubiri era nga ennaku z'omwezi tubalira ddala 27 tuli mu mwezi ogwa Mutunda omwaka 2022. Nze Omumbejja Luwedde Lilian ate era nnyongera okubanga mbabuuzaako mwena abakedde naffe olunaku luno olwaleero kadde kakubawa ate updates okuva mu mawulire agabadde ate gwe gy'otaabadde olunaku luno olwaleero. Naye nga nnyongera okutegeeza nti mu studios olunaku lwaleero tulina abakulu babiri. Kuno nno kuliko Tenywa Joseph Michael, ono nno ate mukulembeze w'abavubuka ate ngera motivational speaker era nga kwegattiddwako omukulu Mbazira John, ono nno human and political activist era olunaku lwaleero bagenda kubanga boogera ku nsonga ate ez'enjawulo building a resilient and strong youth movement gwe mulamago bagenda okubanga ate bakubaganyako ebirowoozo. Omukulu Edgar Matthew Karuhanga agenda kubanga ate abakutuusaako paka ssaawa 3 ez'amakya g'olunaku luno olwaleero. Nkutegeeza Mighty Drive buli lunaku olw'Emmande ssaawa 1 ey'okumakya paka ssaawa 3 tubaawo wano ate n'ensonga ate ez'enjawulo ze tuba twogerako okusinziira ku miramwa egy'enjawulo mwe ng'ate abatugoberera gye mbeera mwagala okubanga twogerako era naffe ne tukuleetera ddala abantu bennyini munnange abagwira ddala mu ttuluba ery'omulamwa gwe mbeera mutuwadde era nga n'olunaku olwaleero ensonga ezigenda okubanga zoogerwako nsonga z'abavubuka. So tulakalira mukulu Edgar Matthew Karuhanga ajja kubanga program agitwala paka ssaawa 3 ez'amakya g'olunaku luno olwaleero oluvannyuma lw'okuba nti nkuwadde updates oba amawulire amatonotono agabadde eyo gwe gy'otasobodde kubeera. Tuli butereevu ku The Alternative Uganda Facebook page kw'osobola okubanga otufunira egenda munango likinga page yaffe onyige ne notification button eyo naawe ate obeera omu kubasooka okumanya nti waliwo program egenda maaso ate naawe era obeere ekitundutundu ku programu eyo ebeera eriyo. Kansooka ate ndooza nkutegeezeko n'emikutu emirala kwe tuli Digitalk TV ku Facebook era nayo ogenda likinga page yaffe ate naawe ogoberere osobole okuba nga woomera programs ennyuvu ku YouTube kwe tuli The Alternative Uganda egenda subscribing ku YouTube channel yaffe munnange onyige n'akadaako nti buli bwateekayo video oba show yonna ebeera egenzeeyo naawe ate osobola okuba nga ogiwoomerwa butereevu. Ku Twitter kwe tuli osobola okuba nga otufuna, Instagram naye osobola okuba nga ate otufuna. Ndowooza katutandikire ddala amawulire ag'olunaku luno olwaleero. Eggwanga Uganda tukyagenda maaso n'okuba nga tulwanagana n'ekirwadde kino ekya Ebola ekyabalukawo gye buvuddeko mu district ey'e Mubende era nga kino kyakakasibwa Dr. Diana Atwinde ono nno ng'ate ye Permanent Secretary wa Ministry ey'ebyobulamu sabbiiti ewedde. Naye ng'ate obwenjogerera obulwadde buno bugenze busaasaana era nga districts eziwerera ddala 4 ezo zamaze dda okuba nga zikakasiddwa nti waliyo abalwadde ate abatawanyizibwa ekirwadde kino ekya Ebola. Muno nno mulimu Mubende era ng'eno ye district eyasookera ddala okuvaayo oba gye basookera ddala okuzuulamu obulwadde buno obwa Ebola. Okwo nno n'ogattako Kyegeegwa era nga nayo district mulimu abalwadde ba Ebola. Okonogattako Kasanda ate nga ne Kakumiro nayo bamaze dda okuba nga bakakasa nti eriyo abalwadde aba Ebola era nga ze zino districts ziwererako ddala 4 era nga abalwadde abalina obubonero oba abalina obubonero obulaga nti balina ekirwadde kino ekya Ebola bawerera ddala 306 nga ku bano 18 bo bamaze dda okuba nga bakakasibwa okuba nti abalina ekirwadde kino ekya Ebola so nga ate abalala 18 bo bateeberezebwa okuba nga nabo balina obulwadde buno. Abakafa ennamba ewerera ddala 23 naye nga ku bano 5 ku bo bakakasiddwa nti bafudde ekirwadde kya Ebola so nga ate 18 bateeberezebwa okuba nga bafudde ekirwadde ekya Ebola. Munnange nkutegeeza nti beera bulindaala obulwadde buno munnange bukyasaasaana naye nga waliwo ababadde bagatambuza babadde babibongeesa nti obulwadde buno bwa Ebola bwatuuse mu Kampala era nga bategeeza nti Kampala emaze okuba nga ekonfaminga abalwadde 6 naye ng'ate omwogezi w'ekitongole oba omwogezi wa ministry ey'ebyobulamu omukulu Emmanuel Ainebyona yategeezezza nti Bannayuganda basambajje amawulire ago agabadde gatambuzibwa ku mikutu gimugatta bantu nti Kampala bafunye abalwadde ba Ebola 6 era n'ategeeza nti Kampala tennaba kubanga eregisteringa omulwadde n'omu kabeere oyo alina obubonero ate obubonero obulaga nti alina obulwadde buno obwa Ebola era nga mu district ey'Ekyegeegwa amasomero 3 ate munnange gano nno gaggaddwa olw'okutya okusaasaana kw'obulwadde buno ate bwe kuba nga kutuuse mu baana. Naye nga munnange omuntu gwe ebintu byalina okuba nga weewala kwe kubanga okwata ku ngoye ez'omuntu oyo afunye obulwadde buno obwa Ebola oba ate okukwata ku bintu oba sharp instruments ezikozeseddwako omuntu oyo alina obulwadde bwa Ebola. Munnange ensolo ez'omu nsiko kuli obuwundo awamu n'enkima obutakwata ate okwewala okukwata ku ntuuyo n'amalusu g'omuntu oyo alwadde ekirwadde kino ekya Ebola so nga ate munnange obulwadde buno busaasaana gye buvuddeko nabawa engeri ate obubonero kuyinza okulabira omuntu afunye oba alwadde obulwadde buno obwa Ebola omuli omusujja ogw'amaanyi okulumizibwa omutwe ne mu nnyingo okuggwamu amaanyi okuvaamu omusaayi mu bitundu ate eby'omubiri eby'enjawulo n'ebirala bingi nnyo ebigwa mu kkowe eryo. Naye nga bo abasawo Mubende eno nno ng'ate yewatandikira amawulire agasaasaana ku kirwadde kino ekya Ebola bo basabye ministry ey'ebyobulamu ebayambe bawe ebikozesebwa okusobola okulaba ng'ate nabo abakola bulungi emirimu gyabwe nga tebakwatiddwa bulwadde buno obwa Ebola era nga bwe bwavaayo ne bulangirirwa sabbiiti ewedde ministry ey'ebyobulamu. Bwe tweyongerayo mu mawulire amalala munnange ekibiina ekya Forum for Democratic Change bo bavuddeyo ne bategeeza nti basanze obuzibu bw'amaanyi nnyo okubanga beegatta oba okubanga ate babeera kitundu ku mukago guno ogugatta ebibiina ate ebiina ababaka mu Parliament ogwa IPOD era nga kino kyabaleetera okuba nti tebazza bujja ndagaano yaabwe na mukago guno olw'ensonga nti bannaabwe bwe bali nabo ku ludda oluvuganya gavumenti okugeza Democratic Party awamu n'ekibiina kino ekya UPC amunanga ate bassa kimu n'ekibiina ekya NRM era nga bino nno byakakasiddwa omwogezi w'ekibiina ekyo Ibrahim Ssemujju Nganda era n'avaayo n'ategeeza nti kigambibwa mbu NRM eri mu kwogereza kibiina ekya Jema naye ng'ate omukulu Asuman Basalirwa yavuddeyo n'atangaza ku nsonga eno n'ategeeza nti bo tebalina nsonga ndala zonna ze bakolagana na kibiina kya NRM okujjako okuba nti bali bonna mu mukago guno ogwa IPOD gye buvuddeko ate abavujjirizibwa abagabirizi b'obuyambi ababadde bagabirira IPOD aba Netherland Institute of Multi-Party Democracy bavuddeyo ate ne bateeka ttawulo wansi ne bategeeza nti tebagenda kuddamu kubanga bafandinga omukago guno ogwa IPOD olw'ensonga nti ebibiina ebimu eby'obufuzi biri ku ludda oluvuganya gavumenti ate byo tebiri mu mukago guno okugeza nga ekibiina kya National Unity Platform okwonna ate kati kugatta ekibiina ekya Forum for Democratic Change Democracy Governance Facility bano nate nabo be bamu ku babadde bateeka ssente mu mukago guno ogwa IPOD naye nga oluvannyuma lw'okuba nti baagobebwa era ne bategeezebwa nti baali badde bazingako obwabwe mu bwangu ddala bano nno bagenda kubanga bawummula emirimu gyabwe mu ggwanga erya Uganda mu mwezi ate ogwa Desemba ago nno ge mawulire ate agava eruuyi eyo era nga omukulembeze w'ekibiina kya National Unity Platform gye buvuddeko yavaayo naye ate anaasagambeza oluvannyuma lw'okuba nti akkiriza nti gaalimanyi gaabwe okuba nti ababadde bateeka oba ababadde bagaba obuyambi mu mukago guno ogwa IPOD ate munnange tebakyakikola olwa advocacy gwe bazze nga bakola mu mawanga ate ag'enjawulo bwe nneeyongerayo poliisi yayongedde obukuumi eri speaker wa Parliament omukyala oba Right Honorable Anita Andet Among era ng'ono munnange gye buvuddeko yavaayo n'ategeeza Parliament nga bw'atambulira mu kutya nti waliwo abantu ate abamutambulirako abagala okumumiza omusu era nga ono police spokesperson oba omwogezi wa police omukulu Fred Enanga yavuddeyo n'akakasa ensonga eno mu lukuŋŋaana lw'abannamawulire olubeera ku kitebe kya police enaggulu buli lwa Monday era nga yategeezezza nti bayongedde ate obukuumi mu maka aga speaker wa Parliament awamu ne ku mulimu gy'akolera okwonna okwogatta Honorable Apasis Namuganza era ng'ono naye yavaayo n'ategeeza nti atambulira mu kutya nga waliwo abantu abagala ate okumumiza omusu naye ate omwogezi wa police omukulu Fred Enanga yategeezezza nti omukyalo ono oba Honorable ono Apasis Namuganza munnange bwe yalumbibwa abantu ababiri abali ku boda munnange yanenyeza abakuumi be okuba nti tebakola kimala okusinziira ate ku training gye bayitamu oba ate n'obukodyo munnange bwe batendekebwa okuba nga basobola okweŋŋanga omuntu yenna aba alumbye mu ngeri emu oba endala era nga nawono naye munnange ate omwogezi wa police omukulu Fred Enanga yategeezezza nti abakuumi aba Honorable Apasis Namuganza bagenda kubanga ate munnange bongera okubangulwa ku butya bwe basobola okweŋŋanga ate ensonga nga zino awamu n'okwongera okumuwa obukuumi obw'enjawulo. The Mighty Global News Updates tukyagenda ddala mu maaso eddakiika tubala 15 ze zaakayita ku ssaawa emu ey'amakya ag'olunaku luno olwaleero munnange ngenda maaso n'okubanga nkuwa amawulire ago agabaddeeyo ate ago gy'otasobodde okubeera. Omukulembeze w'ekibiina kya National Unity Platform omukulu Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu ng'ayita ku mitimbagano oba ng'ayita ku mikutu gye mugatta bantu yataddeyo obubaka ate obubanja abawagizi b'ekibiina kino abakwatibwa mu biseera ate ebyakalulu. Abamu ku bo bakwatibwa tetunnaba kugenda mu kalulu so nga ate abalala bakwatibwa tumaliriza okuva mu kalulu era nga yatukizza buto ate okubanja abantu bano. Yataddeyo amanya g'abantu abo munnange abawambibwa era n'ateekayo n'ebibakwatako ebyenjawulo gye bava ate n'ebirala ku byo ebibakwatako era n'ayongerako nti abamu ku bo bawambibwa so nga ate bawambibwa nga tetunnabagenda mu kalulu so nga ate abalala munnange bano bagenda babalonda ssekinnoomu okuva mu bitundu ebyenjawulo era bano gye baali bawangalira n'asaba ate abakola ku nsonga z'ebyokwerinda munnanga ate babawe abantu bano nabo baddemu okubanga balya obutaalo. Okuviira ddala mu mwaka ogwa 2022 ekibiina kya National Unity Platform kize ate kibanja abantu bano abakwatibwa oba abajja babuzibwawo mu ngeri ey'enjawulo era nga bano bategeeza nti abamu baasibibwa busibibwa naye nga ate abalala bo bakwatibwanga mu ngeri ez'enjawulo, abamu bawambibwanga ne bateekebwa mu drones era bano ne batwalibwa mu bifo ebitamanyiddwako okutuusa olunaku luno olwaleero. Era nga mu mwaka gwa 2021 ekibiina kya National Unity Platform bavayo ne bafulumya lisiti y'abantu ate abaali batamanyiddwako wa we bali era nga lisiti eno yaliko abantu abawerera ddala 243 abaali batamanyiddwako we bali so nga ate abantu bo bategeeza bayongera maaso n'okubanga bategeeza nti abantu abawerera ddala 458 munnanga abasinga ku bano baali bawagizi ba kibiina kya National Unity Platform ate ng'era bavubuka baali tebamanyiddwako watuufu we bali naye ng'ate Minister wa Internal Affairs JJ Odong munnange ye list gye yaleeta mu Parliament yali eriko abantu 177. Omukulembeze w'eggwanga bwe yali ate ayogera ku TVs ez'enjawulo yategeeza nti abantu abo be mwali mulowooza nti baabula oba ate baabuzibwawo munnange bali mu mikono egy'abakuumaddembe era nga bano nno munnange abamu baggulwako emisango egy'enjawulo naye ate munnange waliwo betulabyeko abateereddwa abamu basimbiddwa mu kkooti ne bavunaanibwa emisango egy'enjawulo era ne babeera nga ate bateebwa. Ago ge mawulire okuva ate eruuyi eyo so nga ate ngenda kubanga nsembyayo eggulire lino. President wa Equatorial Guinea omukulu Ngwema Basogo ono nno awedeza ddala emyaka egiwerera ddala 8 yavuddeyo n'ategeeza nti agenda kubanga addamu okwesimbawo mu kisanja kye eky'omukaaga. Ono nno kinajjukirwa nti afugidde Equatorial Guinea okumala ddala emyaka 43 era nga munnange ono nno Vice President we ye mutabani we era ono ng'amannya ye Ngwema Obiang era ng'ono ye vice we oba ye mumyuka we. Ono nno abasinga baali balowooza nti ekibiina kya Democratic Party of Equatorial Guinea gwe kinaaba ate kisimbyewo naye ate munnange kyagenza okuzuulwa nga omukulu Ngwema Basogo kyali president w'eggwanga eryo yagenda okubanga akomawo mu kisanja kye eky'omukaaga era ng'ono bwe twogerera kati yakutta omumuli gw'okuba nti ye mukulembeze akyasinze okulwa ate mu buyinza kubanga yakafugira emyaka 43. Bw'otunuulira eggwanga lino erya Equatorial Guinea ababadde badipendinga nnyo ku oil awamu ne gas era nga bino munnange ebikolera ddala ebitundu 7.5 ku buli 100 7.5 ku buli 100 okuva mu sente ate ezirwaninga eggwanga eryo erya Equatorial Guinea era nga omukulu Ngwema Obiang ono nate ye Vice President yavuddeyo n'ateeka amawulire gano ku mukutu gwe ogwa Twitter era nga ategeeza nti munnange taata we agenda kubanga akomawo okuvuganya mu kisanja ate omuba omulundi ogw'omukaaga ku kifo ky'omukulembeze w'eggwanga ate mu Equatorial Guinea. Ago ge mawulire gembadde nago olunaku luno olwaleero. Bwe tugenda mu kuwummulamu omukulu Edgar Matthew Karahanga agenda kubanga akomawo n'abakulu kulitenywa Joseph Nembazira John bagenda kuba boogera ku nsonga ez'enjawulo ez'abavubuka bwe kituuka ku kuzimba youth movement biki ebyetaaga okuba nga bitunuulirwa awamu n'ensonga ez'enjawulo zotasaanidde kubeera nga osobwa okutuuka ssaawa 3 ez'amakya ag'olunaku luno olwaleero. Tugenda kuba tuwummulamu katono nnyo tukole ku nsimbi z'abakama baffe bwe tukomawo discussion egenda kuba nga etandikirawo nyini. Good morning.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digital,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
Hello beautiful people, you're welcome to the Snap Talk with your girl Teddy Tenjo every Saturday right from 6 to 7.
It is your responsibility omwana wo kubeera mu nyumba nga teyasuze bweru mbo bamubanja rent.
Koyo kulaba abalenzi abo abasajja abakunga butuufu tebabuulirirwa nga babulamu.
Towerabira nti tuli wano ku the Alternative Dig Talk. Mukwano gwange gwali topic kiri wandiyagadde twogereko. Is it about family?
You can take your time, look for a job, stabilize, men will come, men will always be there, you will get the men. Bonna goyagala musajja yenna goyagala ojja mufuna.
Embaga ketuuke. Bino bitu byasenga na ojja bafuna.
Naye ng'oli asitudde ttu yakedde ku makya baga nti nsitudde ttu naye nga mubutuufu agambye nti akyali muto.
Is it outside family? Is it society? Oh, could it be relationships? Just be commenting a topic yona gyandiyagadde twogereko tujja kwa tujogera kwano ku the Alternative Dig Talk ku share enganzi the Snap Talk.
Migrant stakeholders run Bill 22 emisinde gigenda okubeera ku ssaawa ekkololo ku Sande nga 2 October. Tudduka okusonda ssente okuddaabiriza ekifo ekibudaabuda bankuba kyeyo nga bakomyewo. Eddembe lya bannayuganda bakolebwe buvunaanyizibwa bwaffe era kitukakatako okulwanirira eddembe n'obwenkanya mu mirimu gy'abankuba kyeyo. N'olwekyo weetabe mu kuddaabiriza ekifo kino ng'ogula kiti ya $2.5 okuva ku petrol station za Shell Kabalagala, Shell Lugogo, Capital, Shell Najjanankumbi, Shell Nansana, Shell Namave ne Shell Buloba. Biwagidwa Star Times, Reham, Fresh Dairy, Roofings, Housing Finance Bank, Maritime Cargo. Olwo ne bikutusibwa ku ofisi ya President ku nsonga z'emitala w'amayanja, UERA ne Migrant Workers Voice. N'ebitegekebwa Sinat Advertising.
Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you're watching us from. 25 minutes past 7 a.m. A very, very, very good morning. and a warm welcome to the biggest show in the land. The Mighty Drive is here yet again for another exciting, intriguing, and very, very infuriating. But it's really an interesting discussion. Ushering into this particular show. Amawuli emanji getufunye okuva omukyalo oyo. Ayogedde ku president wa Equatorial Guinea myaka 43 nga akulungula eggwanga eryo naye akomawo ku kisanja ekirala. That means wanaavira mu buyinza agenda kuba afuze eggwanga lino emyaka 48. Ekyo kisanga Africa where leaders are still in power for all that long. We have our incumbent president here. By 2026 he will make 40 years as president of the Republic of Uganda. That is none other than the big man himself, Mr. President, Mr. Moneyman Yoweri Kaguta Tibuhaburwa Museveni. Nayo why, what are we to say? We are to change our future at this time because we believe we are in the future. But tugamba ngedda nti no, the future is the future is coming, but right now, man, the future is today. So gwacheba assembly bonga wotulabira zuka sambia ko because the future is now. Gwe ali kutulabira ku boda ngodda ku mulimu. That's very good. Ali mu taxi webale nnyo omwami Wamala Charles nkutumiddeko nchayo na kolwale nchimanyo tulaba nnyo. Thank you so much. Wali omwami Mutale Farouk Hussein Ali live from the United Arab Emirates. Thank you so much for watching. Abantu banji wali n'omukyala ali South Africa yatera nnyo okubanga atulaba. Mrs. Twine kutumiddeko nnyo. Thank you so much for watching the Mighty Drive Show. Gwayagala okubanga olanga naffe wano ku TikTok TV, feel free osobola okukubira ku programs director w'ekifo kino omwami Arnold Mukose Anthony asobola okubanga akuyamba okubanga olanga ebyamaguzi byo ku shows affe wano ez'enjawulo. Nabagamba ku Monday tubeera ne Mighty Drive paka ku lunaku olwa Friday okuva ku ssaawa emu eyo okumakya paka ku ssaawa 3 ez'okumakya awo wennyini. Tulina hotline ejjo tobadde n'omwami Buchana Julius ne Rogers Tulyaha bwe babadde wano nga banyumyamu ku nsonga e hotline ebeerayo buli Monday. Tuina teeka kyeddako wano nga twakavaako ku ssaawa 5 olaba teeka kino omwami tumusiime kato. Then tuina the voltage ebirayo ku lunaku lwa Friday. Tuina the fancy flow eyaditedi tenjo ebirayo ku lunaku lwa kuna. Tuina diaspora link eya Nixon naye ebirayo ku lunaku olwokuna. Ku lunaku olw'omukaaga tuina the interface with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye. Show ebirawo wano wennyini. Then doza tuina ne snap talk show eya Teddy Tenjo nabokera boogera ku family. Then ku Friday eriiso ly'omukuli nayo emala neekomawo wano omukyala Luwede Lilian abeera nga agikubiriza mpola. So woba oyagala kuba ng'olanga mu show zaffe ez'enjawulo akubira Mukose Arnold Anthony ajja kuba akuyamba. Oba oyagala kukola live stream y'omukolo gwo tubikola wano. Ayagala videography, photography, byonna wano ku Mighty Drive oba ku TikTok TV twasalawo okubanga tubaweereza. Enkya y'olunaku olwaleero nnyina abaami babiri abagenda twegattako mu studios olunaku olwaleero. Omu muwandiisi wa bitabo, motivational speaker obazzaamu abantu ku maanyi nga bawa ku magezi g'ensi, ate student leader okuva wali ku ssettendekero wa Uganda Christian University. Omwami ono muwandiisi wa butabo nga wembagambye he's an author. Yawandiika akatabo Intentional Living akagenda okuba nkayamba abantu okuba nga bafinding a purpose. Bannayuganda bangi abatalina purpose. Yes, we wake up every day but we lack purpose for our in our lives. So omwami ono Tenywa Michael Joseph y'omu gwe tulina ku studios olunaku olwaleero. Omulala ye si mupya ku set zammwe mutera nnyo omulaba wano ku TikTok TV. Twabeerako naye wali ng'akyali mu kalulu k'ekyambogo n'amala n'akawangula n'afuukira ddala guild president wa ssettendekero eryo. Kati yamaze n'awaayo obuyinza mu mirembe kati akyali guild president wa Kyambogo University. Omwami oyo ye Mbaziira John. He's a human and political activist and former guild president of Kyambogo University. Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to start with you, Mr. President. Osooka obuuze ku bakulabyo babuulire kiri kiti eyo oyina amawulire mangi agakutambulirako. Mawulire mangi naye sooka obabuuzeeko nga tetunaba kugayingira.
Mwasuze mutya Bannayuganda bannange.
Yes, sir.
Ne Bafrika bannange. Omanyi bagamba if you don't celebrate yourself, who is going to celebrate you?
Nobody.
So I want to remind every Ugandan and every African to be happy of themselves, and also to hold themselves in high regards. Once again, I'm Mbaziira John, aka Senior, former guild president, Kyambogo University. Njagala okubeebaza Bannayuganda bannange, abayizi bannange ne bavubuka bannange abo twatambula olugendo olwo, n'okwebaza management ya Alternative Digital temwatulekerera. Buli kadde mwabangawo ne mubuuza bannange kiri kitya and would be able to share our views and our thoughts. And I want to congratulate the students of Kyambogo University and all other different activists who supported our leadership by then. We were able to really change some things, and then successfully we handed over power peacefully, and that's what we want in Uganda. That's what is most important. So once again, I'm glad to be in the studios of Dig Talk. It is yet another opportunity to share to the world. I will not say Uganda. You know, there are so many people who are watching us beyond Uganda. And I'm very grateful to have my thoughts about our youth movement, building a resilient youth movement. In a situation where we are in Uganda, everyone is longing for a transition.
Okay.
I heard you in your remarks, Government General Museveni, Mulinze mu 2026, but some of us believe that really the time is out. Even the natural factors, besides the natural factor, all Ugandans feel like, no, even those who benefit from them, they feel like, yeah, indeed these guys should go. So they should really hand over power the way we did, peacefully, and we have another leadership to take on the country. Thank you so much.
It should be one gentleman to hand in power. When you say that, it sounds like there are many. Before I leave you, I was supposed to ask, how is NUP? Because I remember when we were aspiring for guild presidency, that symbol had a lot of controversy around that. They were not even able to put it on the ballot paper. Yes, there was a lot of controversy, and by then NUP was the talk of town. Do I have to ask you, how is NUP, or should I ask that, are you still in NUP?
That I remember the saga of the beret in my race when I was contesting for guild president. The beret symbolized people power. That when we talk about people power, we are talking about, it is not an organization. It is not something tangible. It is the spirit, it is the vigor within each and every ordinary individual to fight for the freedom, to fight for the democracy, and fight for the justice. So the way I would hold that beret, even today how we hold it in regards, is that it symbolizes the pain of the so many people. There's so many people who have died, who have been extrajudicially killed. Our fellow youths up to now who are still in prisons. Our mothers who are down there along the streets trying to hustle life for us and our siblings, and so on and so forth. Even us, the way how we are coming out to the world, things are not really pleasing. So that beret would hold it in a regards that it would represent our pain. And it is something which we would use to speak out. Like just me putting on the beret, I would show my dissatisfaction. There are so many ways of showing that dissatisfaction. So when we look at still the people power, it was a movement, according to its concept, which brings so many people and having different roles. In these movements, we have the administrators, we have the agitators, we also have the reformers at the top to work on policy and so on and so forth. So to me, my role there, I was an agitator, and I'm still an agitator in people power. As I've told you, people power, it is not an organization, it is not an entity, it is not the house, but it is the spirit of the people to rise and defend their rights, including freedom, justice, and democracy. Yeah, so I still remain an agitator. Okay, but you have mentioned everything, but you've not talked about NUP. Yet I used to specifically ask about NUP. In a minute or two. Tell me, why did you leave NUP? Because yes, you were in people power, but you were also subscribing to the National Unity Platform. Why aren't you? As I've just said, that in organizations we have members, we have supporters, we also have the organizers. So what is my role in NUP? You know, NUP is a political vehicle right now in Uganda, which everyone would love to look up to. And if there is any cause they are pushing, I owe a support. You understand? So I remain a supporter of a political organization like NUP. All right, I like the way you choose your words. You choose your words very, very carefully. Such a politician. Mr. Tenywa Joseph Michael, you're welcome to the show. You are an author. Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much to all our viewers who are following us. at DigTalk TV. Thank you so much, and I'm really glad to Edgar for giving us this opportunity to reach out to the people out there in Uganda and beyond.
Okay.
Let me just make a recap of what he mentioned before I proceed.
Yes, please.
He said something that, let them hand over power the way we handed over power. He said something, it's quite intriguing, that now they should be the elders to learn from the young people. Let them hand over power the way we handed over power. It would be the other way around.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that the youth have taken the lead in inspiring the nation, in inspiring this generation.
Yeah.
And given the fact that the Alternative Uganda surely targets the audience of the youth, given the fact that we are on all social media platforms where we know that the youth are the main consumers of this content, we're really glad that the youth have taken on an effort to foster the change that we seek to see.
Okay.
Yes, I am an author. I've been a researcher with different organizations, despite the fact that I'm a student. But then you realize that we need to put out a message to the young people. I know there are young people who would need a message. Somebody wakes up, they are demoralized, they are not having the morale. At this time when you start, the economy is tough. Everybody cries of the economy, you know. There are people who are now claiming that the economy is too tough, and yet we have to keep moving. So somebody wakes up and you really need to give them a push. We are having the youth population with over 70% being below the age of 30.
Yes.
That contributes a lot. But then if these youth are not given a direction, if they are not given a motivation, if they are not given an aspiration or a sense of purpose, it comes into question that even when we shall be having national programs, giving an example of the current parish development model, how already are the youth at embracing this program? Because we know that it's not the only program. That's just an example. So it means that if we are to bring substantial change, the youth are key. And we must reach out to them with the right information, with the right activism, with the right motivation, with the right inspiration. And it's why I come up to share out a message on intentional living.
Okay.
How many youth are intentional? When you wake up to go and work, are you intentional? When you wake up to go for a lecture, are you intentional? So that's what we are looking at. When we have the youth that are intentional, with a proper mindset, with the right information, listening to talk shows like this, it really matters. It really matters. So that's the generation of youth that we are looking at. So I'm really glad that we are looking at a generation of youth that are going to bring substantial change, and we are building it as youth. Thank you so much.
But we're speaking in the future, and I would want to think that the youth should be doing in the now. But why is it that we feel like it feels like the youth do not have like a big impact to the politics, especially? Youth are innovating, they're building apps, they're building things, they're being creative, but they're not being impactful in the political realm. Don't you think? So it feels like we're not feeling them. Even the ones that came through what they called a wave, you felt like they came through the wave, but there's no impact these young people are creating in the politics of today. Do you have a comment on that?
I'm really glad for such a comment. I'll give an example of the typical structures that we have. We have the NYC being established by an act of parliament since 1993. NYC has been in existence.
NYC is National Youth Council.
Yeah, National Youth Council,
just for clarity,
being looked at as an umbrella that has to drive all the youth, all the youth movements. I'm not here to examine how effective it is, but in reality, how effective is it in grooming youth into real political giants? Surprisingly, we realize that actually oftentimes the youth that you will see pushing out into national politics, even some of them have not served into NYC.
Yes.
Some of them are just coming from the grassroots and they are like forging their way out. So when we look at the youth taking a central role into the national politics or playing active role into the current politics that we have, we realize that we are not having a fair platform for the youth. Why I say that we are not having a fair platform is we look at factors like commercialization of politics. What does it take for a youth to be into an MP race? There was a study by the ACTIFIM, the Alliance for... So it was a 2019 study, and it was indicating that nearly to run an MP race, you need close to 500 million. For you to succeed.
That is minimum.
That's the minimum.
That's the minimum.
That's the minimum.
Yes, and that one is the broke one.
That's the broke one. Yes. That's the minimum you will need.
Yes.
So how many youth are in position to raise that amount of money? So we have had devices that have crippled the youth. commercialization of politics being one of them. And who sets the pace? If we must go for a race with someone who will bring out sacks of money, as we have seen, somebody has to bring out sacks of money. Can you effectively compete with them? Even justice becomes very hard to attain. That if this person can afford to bring out sacks of money during an election, then for you, a youth who has nothing, it becomes typically hard. So even when you are looking at going to challenge them in an election, you will simply look at the money mass and you give up. So that's one of the challenges that the youth are facing currently. Commercialization of politics that creates a ground that is not fair for the youth to have a fair play with the people into their mainstream politics.
So it's very difficult for the youth to actually create impact at the end of the day.
It's very hard at the end of the day, because what matters is who is that significant person to create the impact. Those who have the power. I want to give an example that today, even if we took you to Parliament, you can go there, but how powerful are you? Because power comes with unity. Power can come with numbers. You can go. Yes, we know Edgar is good. He's a good speaker, yes. We take you there. But how fair is the ground? At the end of the day, you have an idea for your area. You have a motion for your area. But how are you going to table it? Remember the way you have to rotate through those offices. You go here, you go there. Everybody you are looking at is like, now this younger man, this man is simply looking at his retirement and he's thinking of his projects back home, and you are bringing him an idea of bringing up something that is going to benefit other people in the community. So you realize that even when you are going to have the NYC representatives, they are not having a fair ground for them because of the different factors. Yes.
All right. They would ask you, what is he saying? Mr. Mbazira, I'm going to start up with you. You have been a guild president at Kyambogo University, and you have, I want to think you have seen some student movements. But before you even delve into some of those, what are student movements, just for the benefit of our viewer? What are they? And when you were still in power in Kyambogo University, were they as effective as the visions of those, the vision bearers thought they would be? Do you think we have embraced student movements as students at universities and tertiary institutions of learning? I
would want to maybe first ask that, do they even exist?
That's the thing.
Okay, that even when I was in office, I won't say that they existed. It has taken time for Uganda to re-embrace the capacity of building student movements. This is something we have tried for over a time period. I think since I entered the university, these are talks we have been having to ensure that we can build a students movement, but it has been failing over and over again. Why? You see, what is existing is not a student movement. That's why I want to make it clear that it's not that when students come together and strike, that is a student movement. Not right. When I look at a movement, I would define it as a collective of individuals or groups of individuals to come and achieve a certain goal, which has not existed. That is something we have tried to forge around, but it has failed, because you'll find that when you look at the ecosystems of our university, along the way, their problems are similar, but you find that they are not the same. And there has been an effort by some of the actors, some of us, to ensure that we can find the underlying factors such that we can build a collective vision, which has not been easy. That you find today, for example, Makerere is fighting for fees, but Kyambogo University is fighting for results. All of these are grievances, are genuine grievances, but they don't have an intersection. Then you will find that maybe in Mbarara, they are fighting for internship allowance. Then you will find in Iguru, maybe they are fighting teachers not to attend classes. So you find that, okay, all of these are grievances, but where is the intersection? That's what we have been looking for. Okay, can we look at something like a fees as something which can rally us together? Because you will find that today, the students of today and the students of 90s, those who took away Obote and those who took away, General Museveni used them. It's that they would go beyond the university premises. But today we have locked ourselves within the university premises. I remember one time when I was here fighting online teaching during COVID. But then some colleagues were promoting online teaching. And today, surveys have come out and every institution are such that they cannot adopt online teaching. So you find that that is the biggest problem which we have been having, to have a collective vision, to have a vision which binds us together.
Just before I interject you, I've just got a message here from a friend, and he's saying, okay, it's a student's show, but it's put in some Uganda for the benefit of the comprehension of our...
So, omukulu, ebisinde by'abayizi, mbadde nkinyonyola nti tewaliwo kiruubirirwa kyawamu ekibagatta oba ekitugatta. Nange bwe nabeerera guild president tetwakituukako ekyo ekiruubirirwa ekyokubeera n'ekisinde eky'abayizi nga kisobola okupushinga oba okusindiikiriza abali mu offices ez'enjawulo n'okusingako mu university zaffe okukolako ebyo ebinyigiriza abayizi ate n'ebinyigiriza omuntu wa bulijjo. Kye mbadde njagala okulaga nti waliwo ebbanga ddene mu bayizi aba university n'abantu ba bulijjo, nti abayizi ba university bwe bavaayo okukandula eddoboozi lyabwe, you realize at the end of the day the common person, the ordinary person ajja gamba abo bayizi ebyo byabwe bikwata ku bayizi. Nti ojja kwesanga nti abantu ba bulijjo bwe bavaayo situla eddoboozi nti oba babodaboda babadde babagana oyingira mu kibuga, omuyizi wa university aliwa takirimu. Nti bw'osanga nti ebyamaguzi byeyongedde, luli nalaba baganda bange BNUP we bavaayo ne basitula eddoboozi lyabwe ku miwendo gy'ebintu egyali girinnye. Nojje kisanga nti abantu ba bulijjo ate basigala bakoze eki? Babatunuulidde nti abo baki bayizi. Kitegeeza kyetulina twetaaga support okuva mu bantu ba bulijjo eri abayizi, ate twetaaga ne support okuva eri abayizi okudda mu bantu ba bulijjo.
Naye temutera obalaba mulina associations ezigatta abayizi mostly ku ssetendekero
kakati
association size movement zetwogerako bazanjawulo.
Bwe njogera ku kisinde oba kyetwandiyise movement, a movement is different from an organization.
Ebeera ne defined goal.
Defined goal. But these organizations were put there by the systems which are oppressing us, like the current government, to accommodate students. That are, okay, if I go to UNSA, personally I refuse to go to UNSA, because I know UNSA is a group of students who are used to sit on other students, not to rise. Yes.
You know that's a very big allegation you're making.
It is not an allegation. Let me tell you, in 2019, we had a guild president in Kyambogo Tundulu. This was the guild president of a sober mind, whom we paid allegiance to. The sorts of Katerega, Julius, the one of Makerere. When they went to Wonsa to enter the leadership, Iso whisked them away from the premises of Wonsa. You know, meaning that if you don't really subscribe to their ideology, then you cannot be there. That is the fact. So this is a group of people. In 2018, there was a convening in Seroma for WUNSA to meet the students. But there were allegations that WUNSA was planning to bring Bobby Wine as the patron. You know? Do you know the patron of WUNSA?
No, I'm not sure.
It's General Museveni. Hey. Do you know what happened to Seroma? They deployed the military, they condoned off all the facilities and whisked everyone away who was there. So, is that a movement? Is that an organization which we feel can air out the grievances of the students, where the state is accountable? Because when we took,
but these young people have been advocating for change of the curriculum and things like that.
I
have heard them here.
Things like before we go to the curriculum, when you look at the current population of the youths in Uganda, by youths abali mu Uganda, tuyina ebitundu 7 buli 100. When you look at that 78%, you realize that only 1.5 million are in what? School. So abalala baliwa. Bye bibuzo betwandibadde tusooka okukola ki? Obuuza. Tunayogera curriculum. Okay, can we all of us have access to education? Then we can discuss curriculum. I've seen their recent rally about yes, sanitary pads, what? It is good. But those would be individual guild efforts, the guild leaders, you know. Yeah. But as WUNSA, is that really, I don't want to undermine its impact, but we have so many problems. You know, we have girls who cannot access education.
Yeah, they're still
Where are they? What is the issue? Because education in Uganda is monetarized, and it has been now distributed according to classes. If I'm from a humble background or a poor background, I cannot access quality education. That is the fact.
Yeah.
They have built systems or schools for us the poor and the schools for the rich. Kati waliwo amasomero g'abagagga, waliwo n'amasomero ag'abaavu. So at the end of the day, we are all qualifying to serve the nation. So for abasomedde mwaga amasomero ag'abaavu amabi, which nation are we going to serve? And those who have studied from those first world schools, which nation are they going to serve? So these are questions we would want people in UNSA to ask, but why don't they ask them? We have had students who have been abducted, students who have been tortured. We have had students who have been brutalized, students who have lost their limbs.
Yes.
You know, in Chambogo 2019, we had one Abraham who lost the palm. We have had one in Makerere Sebuzo who lost the palm.
There is a UCU.
Yeah, UCU gentleman who died in Makerere.
There is one of Busitema who was shot by Anaskal at Busitema. We had
Makerere University students that were shot.
Yes, we had Tegu in COVID. Yes. Yeah, Tegu who was shot. Yes. But now, who has taken an initiative to pursue justice of this individual? I think those should be the critical things.
Right.
That we have the freedom as our constitutional mandate to demonstrate a freedom to life, a freedom to education, and those should be the key priorities of UNSA, the constitutional mandate. If we have failed to protect the constitutional mandate, we are resorting to things to lobby because we can also benefit in one way or the other.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mbazira. I think justice is a very big challenge in Uganda. We rarely get justice. On the 18th of November, 19th, 2020, over 50 people died. Up to now, nobody has been charged or remanded for any case. I'm going to go to you, Mr. Tenywa.
Yes,
Soko tubulie mweku UCU byanjawulo osanga kiri Kyambogo nga bebatalina student movements. Mwe muziineyo muziwulira zikola. Okay.
Nayanzanya mukama wange. I want to pick up from where he stopped.
Yes, sir.
He commented ku nsonga ya student movements. And now we are looking at a student movement that is going to foster change.
Yes.
Vis-a-vis the groups or the associations that we are having now.
Yeah.
That have been established under the law. We look at UNSA, we look at the student leadership as it is said, the guild, it has been established. Now, I'm one person who loves giving reference to some scholars. Quoting Karl Marx. Karl Marx is one man who argues that these associations usually will be there to help protect the interests of those in power. Actually, he raises this during the times of the labor unions. He's one person who feels that actually labor unions are as good as useless.
Yes.
Why? Because you will sit there, for example, they are going to put the labor union. I want to give an example. This is not to undermine these associations. I want to give an example. Who establishes UNATU? I'm not a teacher. But if UNATU sits, is it going to first cater for the interests of the teachers themselves or the interests of those who have set up the structure of UNATU? The issue is, who is going to set up the mandate of UNATU? Who is going to set down the mandate of UNSA? Who is going, we are seeing the struggle now in Makerere. They are fighting hard to violate the Students' Guild, the Guild Constitution.
Yes.
After violating the Students' Guild Constitution, bagenda jita iraringa when it's going to fit the interests of the university. So at the end of the day, students' movements born from within the formal structures will never fit the interests of the youth. I want to give you another example. In 1959, when John F. Kennedy comes to power, he talks of the Peace Corps that we are going to come to Africa. But then he talks of the student airlift also with the efforts of Mboya from Kenya. And then we realized that when they had these African young people going to Europe to take on the studies, that's when we see most of these men who enabled African countries to get their independence.
Yes.
We see in Kenya, we had men like Obama Sr., the father of Obama, were the beneficiaries of these student airlifts, going to study in America. The motivation was not to take these people that they come and help their nations to get independence. These are youth who were educated, but when they come back, they realize the need. Had it been that these youth were taken particularly to help in establishing a strong movement that would help African countries get independence, probably wouldn't get independence. Because those who would be grooming them, they would have been tailoring their interests according to the interests of the colonialists. What I'm trying to put forward is, if we are looking for a student movement that is going to be laid down on a structure, then that's not going to serve the purpose of the students. Because in establishing that movement, we shall be looking at what is the constitutional mandate of these students. We are going to assign, say, a committee that is going to review their aims and their objectives and their statutes and their constitution if it has to be established. A movement has to rise out of the community. And that's what it means for a community to grow. That at a point, we see people power rising. Who was there to mobilize people power? People only came up at a point and realized there was a need to come together.
Yes.
If you remember when people power was coming,
nobody framed it.
Nobody framed it. Yes. We appreciate that actually Bob Wine, the president, was significant at that time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't his mobilization.
Never about him, yes.
It was never about him. It wasn't Bob Wine. It wasn't about him being a president. Nothing.
People
not about
needed
him being
a symbol and they got it and they united on that.
And they united on that. That's it. And that's what we are calling for. That if we are looking at a youth movement, we simply need awareness. And this is one of the things that I would appreciate about DigTalk TV, is that we are creating awareness. We are bringing up mindset change, that at that right moment, the youth can wake up and they realize, no, I think it's the time to take the center position, and we influence change by this way.
All right. Okay, it's now time we're going for a short commercial break at just 4 minutes to the top of the hour. You're still watching The Mighty Drive Show. You can also join the conversation in the next hour of the show. And of course, you can call in, comment, and tell us whatever you think about what these two gentlemen are talking. We're talking about the building resilience of, you know, these particular student movements, and to see how better we can strengthen them. After the break, we're going to be talking about the solutions, and of course, as how he has said, how do we build you know, a movement that is strong, that will be impactful at the end of the day. And of course, in the next hour, we shall be asking some typical questions on the current affairs of today. We have a lot of things happening in the Pearl of Africa. Don't dare miss. Let's go for a short commercial break. My name is Edgar. This is The Mighty Drive Show.
The Alternative DigTalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digital,
as he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, DigiTalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
Migrant stakeholders run bili mu ebiri emisinde gigenda okubera ku ssaawa ekkololo ku Sande nga 2 October. Tudduka okusonda ssente okuddaabiriza ekifo ekibudabuda bankuba kyeyo nga bakomyewo. Eddembe lya bannayuganda bakolebwe buvunaanyizibwa bwaffe era kitukakatako okulwanirira eddembe n'obwenkanya mu mirimu gy'abankuba kyeyo. N'olwekyo weetabe mu kuddaabiriza ekifo kino ng'ogula kiti ya $2.5 okuva ku petrol station za Shell Kabalagala, Shell Lugogo, Capital, Shell Najjanankumbi, Shell Nansana, Shell Namave ne Shell Buloba. Biwagidwa Star Times, Reham, Fresh Dairy, Roofings, Housing Finance Bank, Maritime Cargo. Olwo ne bikutusibako ofisi ya President ku nsonga z'emitala w'amayanja, UERA ne Migrant Workers Voice ne bitegekebwa Sinat Advertising.
How you beautiful Ugandans, it's your girl Sedit Angel. Welcome to the Fancy Flow. Who doesn't see my hair, guys? I am super glamorous. Remember, this is the only show where we're going to be talking about fashion.
Please, where you think? teaching.
What has been confusing you about fashion? Sorry, you said I should not smile. For all the information about fashion, maintenance of body shape.
I can wear bling bling when I'm going out. So you can wear bling bling going out or any occasion.
We shall be doing all this in the Fancy Floor. Remember, it airs every Thursday right from 8:30 to 9 with your girl, Teddy Tenjo. It is the Fancy Floor.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. It is 8 a.m. right here in Uganda where you're streaming live from. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. Mbaniriza nyonyo musawe yokubiri eya program ya Mwenganzi The Mighty Drive. Tulina abaami babiri tuli mu kunyumyamu wano ku nsonga ezikwatagana ku bavubuka n'ebisinde ebitwala abavubuka. Omu ye Tenywa Joseph Michael nono muwandiisi wa bitabo atava wali ku ssettendekero wa Uganda Christian University. Nina n'omwami okuva e Kyambogo University ya legal president waabwe omwami Mbazira kati yafuuka a political activist. Tumuliza okubanga yegatta ku parliament anytime soon. Omanyi bava mu bitibwa bya legal president badda mu parliament netubalaba ku ntebe eri yennyini. So who am I to have a one-on-one with the next leaders of this country? Gentlemen, njagala okuddamu okubeebaza okubanga mutuwegaseeko leero. Ngenda tandika nawe Mbazira otubuulire solutions kikati kuba tutegedde student movement kyayekalufumu yakatezeri nayo wetuwogerera abavubuka babuildinze batya resilience esobola okubanga esobola okuzimba idea bweti ya student movement ate ne ne discipline esobola okubanga baji maintaininga because tulina bannayuganda bangi bajja ne babeerayo naye okujja waggulu naye okumaintaininga status quo kitera nnyo okuba ekizibu. So mundabayo otuba bakuzimba zino movements tutandikire kuki?
Neyanziza nnyo kakati kyenjagala okukkaatiriza kiri nti a movement is not built in an overnight that we shall wake up like the way we are organizing a party, maybe a birthday party, and we say now we are done organizing a movement. A movement goes through stages.
Yes, sir.
When I talk about those stages, kyenjagala okukkaatiriza nti movements ebo bisinde biyita mu mitendera egy'enjawulo era nga giri emitendera ena. Waliwo kye tuyita emergency. Emergence is when the movement comes to birth. Nti movement ezaalibwa era biki bye tuteekeddwa okukola mwaka akadde. Nti mwaka akadde tuba twetaaga okutuukirira abantu ab'enjawulo n'okubannyonnyola kiki kye tuliko. Nti movements zitambulira nga nagambye zitambulira ku causes. What is our cause? We must identify that, and that has been one of the problems. Within the universities, we are looking up to addressing similar grievances, different grievances at a time. That in Kyambogo they are speaking of results, in Makerere they are speaking of fees, in Gulu they are speaking of practicals. But you come back to the Makerere, they want to whisk or eliminate the student leadership, and other universities are quiet. Yes, that can be a rallying point to us. So that can be a merger of a movement. Then are we able to sell our idea to other individuals? That okay, if we are students, are we rallying around human rights? Are we rallying around the economics of the education? I mean the fees and other related stuff. Can we all now speak the same language that we are speaking about fees? So if we are speaking about fees, Mbalala can do a different campaign. For example, they are talking about teachers not coming to class, but then we are connecting it to the government subvention which comes to the university. That teachers are not coming to class because government is not giving enough money. Kyambogo, they are speaking about results, but teachers are not marking the exams because they are not being paid. So can we connect back to the money which comes from the government? That we want government to increase the money. That for example, maybe Makerere, they are talking about the Gilde leadership. They want to take it away for the university to be able to mismanage the finances of the university, to misappropriate the resources of the university. But are we able to connect the dots back to the same thing, the economics, that if we are paying our fees, if we are paying our monies, if you don't want us to take part in the decision making, then who is going to hire out our voices? Okay, if you want to take away our representation, then let our education be free. We have no problem. But as long as we pay and we are contributing to the budget and the running of the university, why do you want to exclude us from the decision making of the university or the policy formulation of the university? So at the end of the day, if we are having one single message that will inform our ideology, one of the biggest problems we have faced is the ideology. What do we believe in as students? You know?
But can all of you students believe in one thing?
Well, as
you're a human being.
Yeah, as I've told you, believing, we don't force you to believe. It must come from inside. Yes, you must realize that, okay, if you're paying taxes, if this country has resources, what is the priority of the government? It should be education. Okay, if all of us can accept, which we accept, then what is the role of government? So that's why I've said that it goes an extra mile. We don't sit as individuals and we say tomorrow we are fighting fees when other people are not aware why we are fighting. So we must go an extra mile to explain to them. That is the emergency stage. The emergency stage. Then when we go to the coalescence stage or the excitement stage, that's when we can now start to stage activities. Can we see a strike in Makerere? We see a strike in Kyambogo. We see a strike in Mbalala at the same time. How do you think they can calm them down if their issues won't be addressed? I want to assure you, such issues will be addressed. There is a time we joined Kyambogo and Makerere when we were fighting in Fees Must Fall, when they brought the 15% to Makerere. But the voices were heard louder because the issue was picking up. People in Gulu staged a protest. In Kyambogo, we did the same. Yes. Mbalala was picking up, so it was starting to become a national issue. That if we had continued, what failed us was the organization aspects and so on and so forth. But if we had continued, maybe at the end of the day, we would do away with the fees, and maybe we say we don't want to pay tuition, we can pay functional fees. So that's what I want to show you, that okay, but if we start with a strike, now people have not understood our cause, people are going to misunderstand us, and they be like, maybe those are their issues. So I want to draw it also to the community, the youths in the community, because we are the youths still, that people sometimes they don't understand our cause. We feel we are fighting for people, but we don't take enough initiative to educate the people or to sensitize them about the issues we are handling. That if we can tell them that for us as the youths, we are standing for a free access to the health care, then everyone in Uganda loves that. And we must explain to them, is it viable? Because some people, abantu mbajaloza, abana bagamba, buli muntu alina okufuna obujjanjabi obwerere naye kisoboka. Okay, let's show them. If government of Uganda, State House spends billions of money on a daily basis, okay, if they try to cut their costs, how much do MPs get? 25 millions per month and other allowances, trips and so on and so forth. If we cut all of those costs, can't we afford at least an average health care system for every Ugandan? So that's what I want to show you. I want to believe every Ugandan will agree that this is viable. And you'll find the people supporting your cause. But if we are running a cause and it is only us who understand the cause, then definitely we cannot pursue anything. Then the third stage is about the formalization. Okay, if we have done all of that, are we able to pay our grievances to the respective authorities? And authorities, it is not limited to Uganda. We have very many authorities even beyond Uganda who are funders of Uganda. We are struggling with the regime of Uganda kubanga bayina sente ezisobola okwongera to oppressinga. They are able to oppress us because they have the money to do so. And we are still consenting with them. Can we cut off some of the aid? Do you imagine students of Uganda?
Cut off the aid now bakunyigidemu.
Angenda kujja kwekyo, mbadde nja kulaga nti, do we imagine
10,000 students or 50,000 students or 100,000 students in Uganda penning a petition against human rights in Uganda to UN, Human Rights Council. Can it be taken lightly? But for politicians, they can say those are political issues. It is very possible because politics comes with interests and survival. But for students, these are decent voices. If they air out such a voice and they're running a petition, let me tell you, there are so many people who will join. Even if they are youths, ordinary youths, and they are coming out with viable reasons, the human rights which we have had in the community, the abductions of our fellow youths, the abductions of our fellow students, the torture, the killings. And we are able to put down these things with independent voices, and we send them to those individuals who are able to fund our operation. Yeah. Can you take it lightly?
I don't
I think there is an impact that can be created, but why haven't we opted for that?
Okay, I think we have not yet thought about that. Mr. Tenywa, I want you to also add on what this gentleman is talking about. He has given us like 3 phases of maybe how we could find out of building these institutions or these movements that will help, you know, achieve certain goals for certain students and young people in this country. What do you have to say about that, sir?
Yeah, I'm really glad for his submission, but actually I'll bring mine back to the issue of the community and the society.
Okay.
I'm one person who believes that society is dynamic and different. I will say that the way people were thinking in the 1990s is not the way we are thinking.
Yeah, it has even been proven.
You realize that at this time, the attention span has reduced because of the social media. Twitter gives you a specific number of words. The status, I think, lasts for about 30 seconds. At this time, the attention span of a youth is about 12 minutes, actually 8.5, maximum to 12.
That's how much you can be attentive.
That's how much you can be attentive. Now, you will pick up your phone almost ever after 5 minutes when you are at work to check your email. Ever after 5 minutes, that's the attention span. So we need to look at the society.
Email you get the walunji, please. They check Instagram.
Instagram, TikTok.
email is a bit formal.
Somebody will keep playing TikTok videos, and if a video even goes for 1 minute, they will move to the next one. Somebody plays a video for 10 seconds. That's the longest a video can move.
That's true.
And somebody moves. So society has changed. The attention span has changed. We are no longer having that reflective thinking, because reflective thinking will come with reading, with literature. People have shunned away from literature, from reading.
Yes.
So society has changed, but then how do we bring back the youth to form? Because now, when you don't have the attention, when I come to share with you that, Edgar, you know what? There is this cause in our community. There is this cause in our village. Leave alone the university. There is this cause in our village. Can't we do something as youth? You're like, okay, I think we would do something. Yeah, that would be a good idea, actually. You pick out your phone, you check it, you remember you had to text somebody. And that's now where we are.
Yes.
So that's why when I have a book like this, Intentional Living, that the youth need to be intentional. We need to be intentional in whatever you are doing. You need to know your purpose. It's the message that I put across into intentional living, mastering the art of purpose. Are you intentional? When we appoint you at once, are you intentional? Or you have your personal ambitions? So we need to look at the set, in which set are we operating now? Is it starting a movement significant? Is it going to bring the impact? When after mobilizing my 100 youth and we are going to file a petition, tomorrow they will be invited somewhere and be given a breakfast. And that will be the end of the story. So we need to look at igniting and mobilizing an entire community. I just gave an example of the way People Power came. By the time People Power came, it was like a solace for everybody. It was like the refuge for everybody. People were like, I think now this is the
last
time.
Hope.
I think now this is the time. It's either today or never. We still have the hope anyway. There's something with the apartheid movement, with the human rights movements that happened back in the days of slavery. These were just being born out of the society.
Yeah.
And if we are looking at a youth movement, let's look at one, mindset change of the youth. We are having challenges of individualism. We are having challenges of the social media. The attention span has reduced. But then how do we put back these youth on form? Because we realize that if we are to bring fundamental change, we can only bring it with intentional people. There is no way you are going to mobilize youth when they are not intentional. You're going to mobilize them, bring them you've interviewed very many youth, I believe.
Yes, I have.
If you were to make a list and bring all these youth together, you may talk to them and you'll be like, I think these are the brilliant minds I have. Let me begin collecting from Makerere. Okay, I'll begin from maybe the 83rd Guild. Okay, maybe those ones are old. Okay, let me begin maybe from the 84th Guild of Makerere. Then I go to Chambogo, pick the 5 previous guild governments, the entire house. I go to Makerere, pick the entire house. I go to another university, pick the entire house. Now these have been student leaders. These are good. They know they are the plight of the youth. Let me bring them together and we come up with something. I'm telling you, by the end of the month, they will be having different aspirations altogether. So we need to look at how do we build the individual? How do we build the youth? So we need to see how, for example, you've gone to school, you've had a chance to be exposed, you are informed, you know how this activism can work. Can we be able to impact the minds of other people? That's the only way through which we can have a fundamental movement whereby when we are setting out, we are like, yes, all I realize there is a problem here, it's either today or never. It was coming with people power and people felt, yes, this is the time. Yeah, people tried. And I say we should say we tried. But then you realize that if it's to awaken the youth, it needs more of awakening because now we are battling with waves of individualism, with the waves of the social media, with also the economy. At this time you are telling someone about activism, but they even never had a meal last night. That's how hard it is.
Okay.
These are people who have not even had a chance to get education. They're into their own struggle. So meanwhile, for you are telling them about we need to demonstrate because we are not receiving education. We need to put up a movement. You are not speaking the same language.
But then there are very many youth that have actually attained this education you're talking about. They are in those corporate offices and they are seated. And it feels like it's a laissez-faire. I want to think that our generation is a generation of weak men. Because I want to give an example. A few years ago, by the time these guys shot their way into power by 86, they were young people like ourselves. They were in our ages. Some were even younger than we are today. Yes. But these people were resilient to be able to spend years in the bush fighting for a common cause, something they believed in for 5 years, and they were losing lives and they were seeing their friends dying there and then. But these guys showed you that they would continue. They were still resilient. They were broke, they were poor, they were young, but they had something that we don't have today, something that we call perseverance, patience. You know that I feel like, don't you think us being a generation of a bit some weak men has also promoted to the lack of movements? Because these people were not even told to unite together to go and fight in the bush. No, they saw what was happening. They saw someone who had a vision, and we have people who have vision today. And they followed these people, and they really did something that even though many people still criticize them that, yes, they have been weak. But these people actually fought for what they have today. For the Uganda we see today, they shed their blood. Are there many youths that are willing to do the same, or even have the guts of doing that the same?
I love the reference you've given with the current government that we have that went to the bush.
Yes.
As one person at least who has had interest into that whole group, and I took the effort to understand how they got into the power that we are having today.
Yeah.
You realize that Uganda since independence had not been stable. Power mainly had shifted to the north with the previous president.
Yes.
They had the arms mainly from the north. We see Obote, we see, fine from West Nile, but so
Tito.
When Uganda is going to that chaotic turmoil for all that time since independence, and these are spending 5 years in the bush, these were not only youth. They were not only youth. Remember, they were soldiers who had been exiled by Amin into Tanzania and even in the diaspora.
Yes.
So that shows you the significance of organizing out of the diaspora. They were not only youth organizing from here. Otherwise, Obote had the power and Obote had the guns. That's what you should not forget. So these youth did not just wake up from here and they did something. There was the impact of those who were in the diaspora. There was the support of those who were out. Remember, these are soldiers who had been exiled. So it usually comes over time. And when they are going to the bush, they were not ideal youth that went to the bush. They'll find they were part of the movement, but they were not the only ones. They were elders who were ready to fight for a cause. I want to give you another similar example. When you have to understand the LRA rebels and how they were beginning, they mobilized for a common cause. Kony was mobilizing the people for a common cause. And actually, when you are to read, there is a book called When the Walking Defeats You by Ledio, he tells you of how Konyo used to lament. He used to say that these elders sent me to the bush and they left me holding the lion's tail. When Konyo was going to the bush, he was endorsed by elders. And they were like, young man, go. Go for this cause. Go and fight for us. What happened? When he reached the bush and things grew tough, the elders abandoned him. And that's why actually everything went south. You see that when Konyo is coming, he comes like a spiritual movement. He combines the spiritualities of Lakwena, and he's now combining different. People are not sure if he's a magician, if he's a prophet, if it's a cult, if it's with a rebel group. And that's why there confused people for a long period of time. So I'm looking at the other factors under play, is that even when we look at the current government coming into 86, there was the other population in the background. Can the youth coordinate with the other population in the background? Can the youth make their cause known even to the elders? When you are talking about the 15% tuition increment in Makerere, how many elders understood its impact even? They did not realize that it was a compounding kind of thing, that every year, people would not understand it. So can the people in the community understand the cause of the youth? Can we change the intention or the mindset of the youth? That's when we shall talk of a youth movement that is going to bring impactful change.
All right, you can also join the conversation right about now. You just call in live. The numbers will be flashed on your screen very, very soon, and you'll be able to pick that dial and just call in live. Tell us, what do you think about what we're talking about today? You're talking about the resilience or building resilience of student movements in the country. And of course, I think we're going to let that discussion stop at that and then delve into some pertinent issues that are happening today, current affairs in the country. Now, one of the biggest talk of the town is the East African crude oil pipeline. The European Union came out to actually say that because of natural and environmental concerns plus human rights abuses along the places where this particular pipeline is passing, it should be halted at least for a year. Many Ugandans have come out to say various things, starting from the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Thomas Tayewa, who talked about a bit of colonialism and things like that, and everybody is really wondering, was that necessary? And of course, still in the same week, we had the President of Uganda telling the judiciary that it is okay for the RDCs to actually shun some court orders that may not be suiting in their, I think, their ideas, and they're like, this court order may not be holding a bit of water, so you can actually throw it into the gutters. That is what President Museveni was actually saying. And of course, we're still at the heels of the iPod. Now, according to this gentleman, I think iPod is another answer.
Yeah.
iPod is another answer.
Very true.
Yeah, so the iPod, I think that the people who are sponsoring that particular forum have actually started to withdraw from it, saying that it has not actually reached the causes of why it was started in the first place. Now, that is what we're going to be talking about. And of course, we have Ebola. I think 21 people have succumbed to this particular disease as of yesterday. I'm not sure today what the number still, but I think 21 people have succumbed to this particular challenge. And of course, 18 others are still battling this condition today. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Mbazia. Let's start off with the East African crude oil pipeline. Do you agree with that? The European Union is saying that, first halt, there are some things that have not yet been clarified.
Yeah, well, true, I strongly agree. That's what I will say. And I love what maybe our regime ministers, when they say, yeah, that is neo-colonialism and so on and so forth. Then I will ask, what is the purpose of the foreign policy? So when we enter into these international treaties, is that neo-colonialism? So when they give them guns to come and kill our people, they sponsor their tear gas and so on and so forth, is that neo-colonialism?
When they build health facilities, when they build roads, we don't hear any neo-colonialistic
very true. I want to basically to talk about the things which press them, because they welcome usually things which lie on their side. We saw recent protest at EU, but people were being sweet-talked by police, something like, we have never seen that in Uganda. It was a very big surprise.
Please elaborate. These people were, for the first time in Uganda, we saw people that were advocating and protesting, and the police was protecting them, and all of them went back home, calm, collected, and they even sat and drank tea.
Very true, because now those were hired machineries to come and express dissatisfaction on behalf of the state.
And that's why they added to protect them. But the same Uganda subscribes to some international treaties, like the Convention on Human Rights, Women Rights, and so on and so forth. Why don't they invest the same energies in upholding those treaties the way they are doing to this? I think if it is neocolonialism, let this time around neocolonialism work in the favor of the ordinary people. Because the monies which these people are obtaining, which they are going to obtain from such a projects, our first question would be to whose interest is that money? Because if at all we have had other projects which have been ongoing, they are mining gold, they are mining other things and so on and so forth. Our government is earning a lot of money, but do they care about the health care of an ordinary person?
Do we even know where that money is going?
Do they care about the education of an ordinary person? That's why I'm emphasizing that if it cannot work in the interest of the ordinary person, and then still the negative spillover effects, because when I tried to read that agreement, I saw that Uganda is having 15%.
Yeah, 15%.
Yeah, 15%. And then you realize maybe other positive outcomes which will come out like jobs. But in Uganda, with what ease can you get a job if you don't have someone who knows you up there?
Yeah.
But besides also that, when we try to look at the negative spillover effects to our environment, at the end of the day, who is going to pay the costs, if not the ordinary person? But then if we try to assess when it does not benefit the ordinary person, because we would try to assess the best way how to deal with those negative impacts which are coming out vis-a-vis the environmental bit of it, as long as it's going to serve to the big interest of the ordinary person. But if it cannot work to the big interest of the ordinary person, and then the negative spillover effects are going to bear a very big burden to the ordinary people, then I strongly support that this regime of General Museveni is not fit to implement a project like ECOP. And it is on that note I want to thank people like Vanessa Nakate. She's one environment and climate activist who have been at the forefront of pushing such a campaign. And that one takes us back to the movement building. You have seen people like Bobby Wine joining forces at the international community. Ordinary people are coming out speaking about the same thing. That's what we call a movement. It is driven by the cause.
Okay.
So our cause right now, it should be that, okay, the international community should stop cooperating with the Ugandan regime if it cannot uphold human rights. And let me tell you, upholding the environment is part of human rights, by the way. Yes, but for us, we want to emphasize that, okay, besides that, we also, the money which is going to come from that project, it's going to be used to oppress us.
But Mbazira, you're looking at a future, you're not looking at today. This oil, you never know, maybe you may drill it and get money from it rather than you saying the money is going to oppress you. Don't you see any light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, when we try to look at the trajectory of the things, ever since this government came into power, or ever since I started paying attention to politics, are things getting better or they are becoming worse? How many people are being employed each and every day? If they have been given money to build the Rubawa hospital, where is it? Secondly, we have seen them going outside, they register their own companies, they come back home to use them.
And give them contracts.
We saw when they tried to discover who was Pineti. Now when all Ugandans know who Pineti is.
That we had a black Pineti.
Yes. Now when we go to ECOP, who are the actual people behind that? So the monies they are going to get out, are they going to serve our interests or to serve their interests? That is the question. But if things were in light, then every Ugandan would be in support, knowing that the money which will come from there, it's going to address this challenge in our society. It's going to address this challenge. But if they are not of our own benefit, then they are for our operation.
Okay, you're very, very right, by the way. At least you have a fact in there, and you're saying there is a bit of shadiness. We don't have information about ECOP. I think we've started to get information about ECOP after European Union has actually, halted that particular operation. But before, we didn't know what was happening. The security operatives were not allowing journalists to access the oil fields. Nothing. All we knew is that there is fuel in the Albertine region. I want to come to you, Mr. Tenywa, before I read some of the messages here. What is your take on the European Union decision to actually say, enough is enough, first pause off for a bit, and let's see how we move forward?
Thank you so much. I sometimes tend to think that in Uganda we are beginning to take things like their family affairs. What you want to be has to be, and what you don't want to be will not be. And that's what the government is doing, is that what the government intends to do must be at all odds. But it will not regard all the other factors. For example, when we're looking at the ECO project, we are looking at the human rights being violated, in the sense that we are seeing the right of ownership to property. How is the compensation for these people, because people are entitled to their land? Now we need to see the middle ground.
Things that UNSA is EU is actually advocating
Yes.
for.
Now we need to look at where is the line between the national project and the individual rights and the human rights. For Uganda wanting to establish the ECOP should not be violating the rights of the people to own their property. How much is the compensation? How is the compensation plan? Besides that, what is the environmental impact of this project? We must be able to assess and examine the environmental impact. Because usually the challenge is that when we are taking on these projects relating to industrialization, the rich are going to eat and the poor will pay. They are going to do the pipeline project. They are not taking into consideration of the environmental impact. They will keep having their money. Just no food will be there in Kampala, they will purchase it. But what about these people in the whole of the Albertine region? Even beyond, because when it comes to climate change, you don't create boundaries that's not going to affect only those in the Albertine region. It's going to be a global challenge. So we need to see how are we addressing the environmental hazards being created by this project. Now, those are things that the government is not ready to pay attention to. Theirs is the money. Theirs is the project. But they are not looking at the long-term impact of this project to the environment and to the people. And that's the challenge that we have with this government, that they will pay attention to their interests. With the Wananchi, that's your business. Cry of your climate change, cry of the floods, cry of the long spells and the droughts. That's your own business. We shall have the money and we shall have food in Kampala. And that's the point that EU is putting forward, which we are not ready to listen to.
But some were actually saying, and I had a friend of mine who mentioned this, and they are saying, when they were doing their industrialization, they did not think about these things. So when we are starting to develop as a country, looking for having our oil and trying to look for our crude oil and exporting it, that's when these environmental concerns come into perspective. They're like, do you love our environment more than we do? Those were some of the assertions that were made by that gentleman, and I know that gentleman is watching right now.
Yes, you're speaking something intriguing, is that we see that the climate change that we are having now has been a consequence of things that were done hundreds and thousands of years ago.
Yes.
If, for example, I want to give an example. If I have a daughter of mine and she went around and she got pregnant and she came back pregnant, if I begin to advise you that, please, Mr. Edgar, your daughter should not be coming back in the night because she will get pregnant. Will it be logical for you to ask me that why did you leave your daughter to get pregnant if you knew if you knew that coming back at night would make her pregnant? They didn't plan for the environmental effects, and after hundreds of years they are realizing it, and they are like, no, this has not to be a European issue. Climate change is not a Ugandan issue. We don't have to politic about climate change. We don't even need to bring any colonialism and politicking about climate change. It's a fact. And worst of all, the developing countries are affected more by the climate change because we are poor at adapting to these hazardous effects of climate change. So when they are reminding us about the effects of climate change, we don't have to ask them if they really considered when they were the environmental factors, when they are establishing the industrialization. We know that the industrialization of Europe, right from the 17th century, has had adverse effects. The trains they were using that would release the fumes, these were crude oils, and they were really having effect. The industrialization in Europe, to the point that almost Europe was becoming dark because of the fumes.
It has come at a cost.
It has come at a cost. We saw that even at that time, actually, if you remember that biology of evolution, even some moths had to turn their color from white to black. There is that. It came with the Industrial Revolution. That's how black, that's how dark Europe was with the smoke from the factories. So when they are reminding us that, please, you're doing this, but we have seen this impact on our side. Can't you do it this better way? What if you consider the environmental factors? What if you consider the individual rights of these people? We don't have to bring in politics at that point.
Thank you so much. I think that gentleman has had your particular comment. At just 35 minutes past 8 a.m., you are still watching the Mighty Drive Show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karohanga. I am with Tenywa Michael and a gentleman from Chambogo University, Mr. Mbazira John. We are still talking about what is happening in the country today. And of course, we're speaking from a perspective of young people, and we're trying to find solutions to the biggest challenges that we are having. Now, let me delve into some of your messages, because I'm seeing here there are various messages that are coming in. There is a lady called, let me see, her name is Namara Claire. Namara Claire is an ardent supporter of Mr. Mbazira. So she says Mbazira John Sr. and then she puts up a fist. I don't know what that fist is supposed to mean. This is supposed to mean you're my man. Namara Claire, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for supporting Mr. Mbazira. Mbazira should reward you in one way or another. Then there is Fredoka Solo. Good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for watching, Fredo. Rogers Turiahabwe. Then Kato Tumusime says good morning. There is also Abibi says you are right. You are very right, John. That is Abibi. Brenda, thank you so much for watching. Then there is Tumusime Edrin. He's watching as well. Seguja Ahmed Batanda. Such a very strong name. He says Teyafuka Sebo Kuvadanga. Teyafuka Sebo Kuvadanga activist. He was correcting me. You didn't turn into an activist. You have always been an activist. He said Freedom Movement Uganda. Thank you so much for watching, Mr. Ahmed Watanda. Then there is Tumusime Edrin. He says Freedom Movement Uganda. Then there's Patricia Angela Naluja. Thank you so much for watching. Then there's a gentleman called Turiaha, where he says, as youth, I don't know if we really learn from history. In brackets, we don't want to read anyway. And he says the independence of Africa from colonialists was spearheaded by these kinds of institutions led by people who cared more about the future of their communities as opposed to self-servitude and benefit. What shall it take to kickstart that kind of energy in this generation to stop marginalization? What is central, and centralizing what is marginal? That is Mr. Turiahabe. Thank you so much, Turiahabe, for watching. There is Muhumuza Alan Miles. He's watching. Then this is Julius Hilk. He says, live from Luemiyaga, Zimbabwe. Thank you so much, Julius, for watching live from Luemiyaga. I have Musasizi Ivan. He's on the show. He just puts up those peace signs. Thank you so much for watching. Abibi says, keep up the good work. You're welcome. We shall keep it up. Then there is Bulamu Secondary School. A full school is watching us, saying, following the discussion. Thank you, Bulamu. Bulamu is a very interesting school. Thank you so much for watching. And I think that they're having an MDD happening at Bulamu Secondary School. Yes, they're having an MDD that is happening very soon. And then Namara Claire says, very articulate about the failure of these so-called student unions and associations to address the serious challenges affecting the youth. Thank you so much, Namara. Then Muhumuza Alan Miles, he says, iPod is another unsa. And he amplifies it. You're actually right. Then Rose Natkunda says, keep the fire burning, comrade. Thank you. He will keep it burning. And I think Namara Claire still says, just imagining how many ordinary people are going to be evicted and displaced from their land. And we've seen cases where government projects and foreign investors have brutally evicted people from their land and even don't compensate them. That is actually very true, Miss Claire and Namara. I'll be reading more of your comments as we continue the discussion. Keep them coming. Just continue sending in those comments, and you can even call in live. The number will be rolling on your screen very soon, and I'll be able to pick you up. Talk to these gentlemen, ask them any question you want them to answer, and they will be able to answer it for you. You're still watching the Digitalk TV, and this is Mighty Drive. Now let's delve into another interesting conversation, gentlemen.
Yes.
President Museveni candidly said, it's so ironical because he mentioned this at the Ben Chiwanuka Day of remembering Ben Chiwanuka, someone who died for justice in Uganda. And President Museveni says it is okay for someone to just shun a court order, and RDC can say, according to my sentiment, according to what I think, this court order is not right. Let's just put it away. And I'm wondering, are the days gone that we used to think and say a court order is taken off by another court order? But these days, an RDC who feels it is not right, in his mind, he will say, this is not going to pass. Mr. Mbazira, what do you have to say?
Well, when you look at that, it's just that now maybe General Museveni is trying to justify his dictatorship, that you should not be surprised. Yes, indeed, we shall do what we want to do no matter. Because when you ask, for example, who appoints these people, their Chief Justice, his people is the one who appoints them. Then who has to hold them accountable? I think as the head of state, he has a responsibility of holding each and every individual, as long as is a public servant, accountable. Most especially his appointees. Who appoints the RDCs is the one who appoints them. So he was telling you directly that these RDCs are representing my interests and my opinion. So when they shun court orders, it is not them, it is me. So that's what he was trying to mean, in other words. Yeah. I want to think. But
because it has always been happening.
Definitely. So it should not be a surprise to us that today, when we look at institutions of justice being treated like that, that takes us back to the powers which are given to the head of state currently, and they're being violated. So what should concern us is how do we get out of such a mess? And you realize that these people, even they cannot come out to speak. We saw during the petition of elections, the way how the Chief Justice snatched away the judgment, and the way how they have been mistreating this Justice Kisache. These people are not being held accountable because, one, the state fears to deal with them ironically because they know they serve their interests. You know, to an unpopular regime like that in Uganda, when you press away people who are able to keep you in the system, then you are at the threat of going away. So even if these people do the wrongs, some of them even if do the wrongs, this head of state, General Museveni, watches them, and he has no choice because they are the same people who are keeping him into power. Those who embezzle money, because the justice system right now has been monetized, you cannot get justice when you don't have money. There are people who go there, they are not tried out because they don't have money or they don't have anyone who knows them. So the big problem today is that these institutions are under the state capture. Then secondly, they cannot be held accountable by the same man who puts them there because they are his supporters. They are pillars. I can say they are pillars of our operation or Uganda's operation. When we have the people who can misinterpret the law in the interest of the regime, then you cannot say that they feel the pain when they issue out court orders and they're not respected. They're in the same game. So I cannot say that our justice system is independent, so they are much aggrieved by what the state does. It is their game, they know. We have seen people, last time I was at a court, they arrested one of our fellow activists in Rubaga, that is Wemba Bib. Yeah. But we would go there now, they play as politics, the surety is now this one, this surety does not fit. But then we would ask, who is... But we are following the law. Then you find that when they arrested the students, they would always bring them, then they take them back, then they bring them, not until they told them you do write apologies, come always and report. So that is our justice system. They do not follow the law, but now they are up to protecting the power which is feeding them. So that is hypocrisy when we see people in the justice system also, apart from those few have come out with decent voices to condemn such, but others are within the same game, pushing that. So me, what I take that from is that, one, we should isolate such a people. If we know these judges who are sitting on the rights of the people, let's expose them. Because if we leave them out there, they don't feel the pain. Maybe when we push them out the wall, they will stop now cooperating with the people from above. Because a judge, you have a right to come in court and you read the verdict the way how it is. But what happens, they receive calls and they will follow the orders from above to read the judgment. So, if we push them to the wall and we hold them accountable as we people, yes, because we have put them there maybe to give direction, but we know our constitutional mandate. We know our rights. So if someone misinterprets our rights, then we have the capacity to call them to order.
Mr. Mbazira, you were talking about something that is very pertinent, and I want Tenya to pick it from there because we don't have time. But we're talking about the judiciary. This arm of government is an arm that everybody is going to run to at the end of the day. So the moment, if you are saying that the justice system is corrupt or it has a bit of challenges, that means it's like the core of who we are is having a problem, right? And before you just comment on that, because I feel we are speaking about it casually, but it's something that is big. Yes, the parliament is our representation, but they can go. Executive is just business. They can go. But judiciary is where someone gets, the consolement that, hey, I've done something. I've got justice at the end of the day. But if this one also has a problem, that means we have a problem as a society. But just me just read a message from Mr. Dili Damusa. He says, I just imagine when I have the reasoning like that of Senior Mbazira. Inside the Agambe, you have great reasoning. Imagines reasoning like you. I think you should read more books. That will help you reason like Mr. Mbazira. Then I have Muhumuza Alan Miles. He says, insensitive government institutions require a stringent measure of whoever breaks the code of conduct. And he continues to say, play as politics. He believes that we are playing politics. Please tell us, what do you think? Because, man, this is the last arm of government.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to look at what has been transpiring in the judiciary as an indicator of, I should call it, a fallen system, if I should say. Why? These are three arms of government. We know the executive, we know the judiciary and the legislature. We have seen at times when the powers of the legislature have been violated. We saw during the famous Koju Kwatako, those that were defined as goons coming to, to put order in the what? In the parliament. So you realize that arms of government have been trampled by the executive. The judiciary the same. Just a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, we saw what happened to Justice Chisache, and personally I loved her reply. She introduced herself. By the way, do you know who I am? I am a justice, and the most importantly, justice of the High Court. And besides the Chief Justice, I am a senior member. This is a PS trampling the powers of a justice, and then also even withholding her salary. I tend to feel that the judiciary should be having a spokesperson who has to speak for the judiciary, to air out their grievances. That's why judges will not just come out in public to speak. But when you realize that the state is trampling the powers of the judiciary, then we realize that we have nowhere to run. Because that's where somebody would have hope. You would have hope that when I have an issue, I can run to court for assistance. Now, these RDCs who are custodians of security in the district, who are representatives of the president as per their mandate, are the ones even to nullify court orders. One, that's so unfortunate for a country, but it also indicates a fallen system completely. Because now, this is typically an executive role interfering with the judicial role, which is quite unfortunate. And we should have reasons now. And these are things that give us reasons as youth to rise up and create more awareness that, you know what, this has to be the time when we have to wake up. We are now listening to that as rumors, as being fact. But when you will have an issue and you need justice and your court order has been quashed by an RDC, that's when you really realize that you need assistance. And then this becomes a wake-up call to all the youth, that these matters concern all of us as youth. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up to the injustices of the regime. And we raise up our call as youth.
All right, thank you so much. Muhumuza says, no, they are playing us politics is what I meant. It actually meant that our people in power are actually playing us politics. Thank you so much, guys, who have been watching the show. We are coming to the end of this discussion, and I want you guys to take a few minutes, like two, to just give us your parting shots. I'm going to start with you. No, in fact, let me first start with him so that you can even talk about this book, Intentional Living. Tell us about that book and how a Ugandan who wants it can actually access it.
Okay, thank you so much. I am Joseph Michael Tenya once again, the author of Intentional Living, Mastering the Art of Purpose. Intentional living, we appreciate that many times we are born without requesting to be born. We are taken to schools by our parents and the caregivers, and we go through a system. But there has to be that moment when you have to be intentional in whatever you do. That's the transitioning from adolescence to adulthood, from high school. So this book suits a person right away from high school, through university, until any other person adult in life. This book is very relevant. It shows you how you can be intentional in whatever you do. I know very many people who have graduated from school, they have gotten jobs and they are working, but even in their undertaking, they are not having a particular purpose to cause an impact to the community. This book is out to you, it gives out a message. This book is informative, it's based on a personal story and based on facts, it's grounded. So you can find yourself a copy. You simply have to contact me. I'll be sharing my contacts. It's currently available. They are at Makerere, but now they are being sold out by students. They're in Makerere, they're in UCU, and you can easily get hard copies. The soft copy will be on Kindle. They are working on the soft copy, so it will be available on Kindle, those who would want to purchase through Amazon. So this is how you can also get it. But you can also reach out to me through my social media handles. Joseph Michael Tenyu on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. I'm also there as Joseph Pro Africa. I've been sending out a message to the youth about how we can unleash the potential of Africa and how the youth can be in charge of Africa. Okay. As per my message to the youth, this is our time to take a central role. You either wake up or we are all buried. But however, it doesn't really create much impact in me going to the streets and I need dress because I'm showing my satisfaction. It shows a bigger impact when I can mobilize 100 youth with me. When those 100 youth can mobilize another 100 youth. So that when we wake up to a movement, it's a movement that is going to create significant change. Because when I go out the streets and throw myself into arms, chances are it may be misinterpreted as playing politics. It may be misinterpreted as playing personal interests. But when we have a general cause and we have woken up every youth, and it's what we are trying to do in passing out this message. So let's be united. Let's pass out the message. Let's show the youth that there is something wrong with the system, and we only need to build a better system for the betterment of our country.
Okay, you've not talked about how much money and your contacts.
Oh, my contacts? This book is only at 20,000 Ugandan shillings. And just a minute to share out my contact. It's a 0750-474918. That's the WhatsApp contact. 0750-474918. And you can be able to get me immediately, and I will be able to link you with people who can give you a copy of this book at 20,000 only. A book that is going to show you how best you can be intentional and have your purpose. And together we can build a better Uganda.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much to all our viewers. It has been a wonderful moment. Back to you, Edgar.
It has been really, really a wonderful moment as well. Mr. Ambassador, Mr. President, your parting shots.
Well, I want to thank the management of the Dig Talk for the wonderful work they're doing for the country. We need more of such spaces which can give people a platform of decent voices to educate and call upon people to action. My call to the youth, I want to tell them that the task we are taking is a daily commitment. What has been overwhelming many of our youths is that today you are on, tomorrow you're off, the other day you're on. If we can consistently push the struggle we are in, then we can realize the results. And this, we cannot do it as individuals. Maybe there can be a group, today they have taken an action, let's have another group, tomorrow take another action, let's have another, such that throughout the week, we are having different actions calling upon the authorities to respect human rights, justice, and maybe our freedoms. Currently, I'm working with the Freedom Movement Uganda. It is a youth-led movement that aims at building the power of ordinary people to fight against oppression. What we have been talking about in Uganda, you realize that people are mobilized. Our political leaders have done really extensive work in mobilizing. But we have lacked only one challenge, is organizing the people. The people don't know what to do. That's why they will look at Dr. Besigye or His Excellency Bobby Wine as the people to tell them, let's do this. But what we are looking up to today is, can we have this knowledge, the things we are discussing, the petitions, the boycotts, and what to the ordinary people, that tomorrow we can see a petition coming out from Owino, that tomorrow we can see people in watch sector refusing to buy any good coming from maybe an industry owned by the people who are part of our oppression. So that's what we want to see. That's why we felt that there is a need to go down on the ground and educate people. And we want to call other youths to form different groups. This is the way how we can overwhelm the system. But if they know that we are dealing with NUP, of course they will play their politics. They try to show that these are political issues which do not need attention. But if we are having various people, different groups, whether you pay allegiance to NUP or you don't pay, but we must speak the same language.
Okay. That at the end of the day, all of what we want sanity in our country, we want a leadership that can uphold human rights. So I want to encourage the youths, don't sit there and lament. It's not about Bobby Wine. Did you sell the country to Bobby Wine? That Bobby Wine has not done this, Bobby Wine has not gone to the street. Have you gone there? What has been your role? So that's what we want. You say Dr. Wesley has not done this. For you, what is your role? That's what we want to do. We want to do our role. Then eventually we shall push our political leaders that you guys, if you are not hypocritical, why can't you unite and we have one candidate? We have Amliat in the race. We have Bobby Wine. We have Katumba. We have Nancy. All of those for what if they are claiming to be opposition? Can't we speak with the same voice? But we can only do that if we have organized ourselves as people, because we are mobilized to speak with one voice, then we can hold them accountable. But who whips the opposition leaders? We should be the people to whip them, but are we able to hold them accountable? So that is a question to my fellow youths. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, and thank you so much to our viewers. Let me read some messages before I go. There is Angela Patricia Naluja. She says, stop lamenting, and she puts up a fist. And Humza says, Freedom Movement Uganda to Simbu Day. Angela Patricia says, consistently to achieve a common goal. The power is in building the power of the common people. Then we have Dilida Musa. He says, I even wonder how a full judge who spent time explaining to duly nominated dictator about justice, it's on this point that judge wanted to confirm to us that there is no justice at all. And when such happens in court, it should not be a surprise. Thanks for the show. And Bazira, we respect your ideology. Namara says, it's not a surprise that Dictator Museveni continues to justify to us that he has captured all government institutions to serve his interests and to serve his interests as they oppress the people. The ordinary people must now learn to take direct action. Then Muhumza says we have Katumba. Katumba, oh yeah, is there. Thank you so much. You've come to the end of this particular discussion. Thank you so much for those who have commented. I see Muhumuza, Namara, thank you so much. Thank you so much to our special guests who have come through. And of course to the gentleman on camera, Rogers, thank you so much. Arnold, thank you in the production. And to Musime Kato, he has been in the production as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Up next will be Stay Kachi, happening at 11 a.m. where we educate you about the law. Now keep those conversations and those messages coming through. It's always a privilege having you on the show. Please do follow us on our various social media platforms at The Alternative Uganda, that is on Facebook, at Digitalk TV on Facebook, at The Alternative Uganda, that is on YouTube, at The Alternative UGA, that is on Twitter. And just send us a direct message. Talk to us in case you want to advertise with us. Feel free to continue to do that and call the program's director as well. He will be able to help you in that particular regard. You want a live streaming for your event, we can do that. You want videography, photography, all that, we do it right here at Digitalk TV. Special shout outs to Miss Luwede Lillian, who was here in the morning to give you the mighty global news updates. Tomorrow we shall be here 7 a.m. Farida and Lillian will be taking you through the Mighty Drive Show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. Till we meet again, see you. God bless you.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.